Good morning, this is a foreigner in the Philippines. I wanted to give you some information here about what happens in the Philippines when you're driving. Now, the thing about driving in the Philippines, which if you have any experience at all about driving in foreign countries, assuming that you're, once again, assuming that you're from the UK, Australia, probably Germany or the UK, fairly disciplined, orderly society which has everything regulated, probably over-regulated, and handled so that there are definite ways of doing things. And if you're in the States, well, if you're in the UK, you've got everything handled anyway, because the medical is all handled. Insurance is very much regulated, so you'll have that handled too, or you're in a lot of trouble. Driving without insurance is a serious offence in any of the foreign countries, right? Foreign to us. So, in the Philippines, okay? So, I'll relate to you a story that I know is true because I know the person that was involved. Person that was involved made a U-turn in what he thought was a safe situation. He had seen, he saw a motorcycle approaching, but it was actually a very comfortable distance away. Now the thing is that whether you know this or not, it's very difficult to judge the speed of a vehicle, motorcycle or car, that is approaching head on. So if you're looking and you're looking up the road and the vehicle is actually approaching directly to you, it's very difficult to judge the speed of that. When you're looking at something as it flashes by, it's easy to judge that speed. So he judged that there was plenty of space for him to pull out, and he did, and he'd actually made the other side of the road. Now, the motorcycle that he had seen proved to be travelling extremely fast, and it was a young kid that was on it. Now, in the Philippines, one of the things, especially, well, we're on Bohol. In our case, we're on Bohol. It's the province, and it's very common to see kids as young as 8 years old riding a motorcycle and taking their mother to work or to town or something. The police don't have a very high profile presence here. It's not like being in LA, which if you've got a back light out, boy, you won't get 5 yards down the road before a cop pulls you over and gives you a ticket. So it's just not the same. It's not as heavily controlled. Well, in this particular case, it was a very young boy, a minor, riding a motorcycle as fast as he thought it would go, and he couldn't control it, swerved over to the other side of the road and hit the guy that I'm talking about, broadside on. The man, the expat, didn't suffer any injury at all, and not actually that much injury or not that much damage to the vehicle that he's driving. But the boy suffered multiple injuries. Now, here's what happens if you're in the Philippines. If a kid is hurt, you're in custody. So, when you go and get insurance here, you can have minimal insurance in which you will protect the other person from the damage that you cause. Okay, that's the kind of insurance that we have. If I knock into something, if I have a little prang, my vehicle will not be covered by my insurance, but the other person's will. So I'm legal to drive on the road. I'm insured. I don't have medical insurance, so that's something that I live with. I lived with it in America. I can live with it here. So what happened next was that the police are called and our friend is taken to the hospital with the boy. That's the first thing, taken to the hospital. But he is now in custody of the police. They take him to the hospital, they find out what the injuries are. The parent is called, or parents are called, and they see the child. Now, what happens next is that because because there were very limited resources at the hospital that the boy was taken to, he is actually put into an ambulance and taken to the nearest big town. So I'm trying to keep this anonymous. So he's taken to a good hospital about 3 hours away. Our friend is now taken to the police station, and while he's at the police station, it's just a small town, they don't have a jail, they've got all kinds of stuff stored in their jail. You know, that's where they keep the cleaning equipment and an old cabinet that they should have thrown away. But the guy is just kept in the hallway of the police station. So what is then decided and agreed is that the next morning the parent of this boy will come down and will, they've already said, well, we're debating now whether there should be criminal action taken against this foreigner. Now there's a lot of foreigners might be watching this and say, yeah, well, that's because they've seen a cash cow and they're going to go for a lot of money. And that may or may not be true. What happened in this particular case was that the next morning, indeed, after our friend had spent the night in custody, open door, he could have walked out at any time, he slept on the floor, and then the next day the parent arrives from the hospital. Now, she had been given 5,000 pesos. My friend paid the hospital bill at the little hospital that they were taken to, so he paid that bill, and he gave the woman 5,000 to go and travel with the injured child to the next big town in the ambulance, and he was taken in. So he spent the night there. They were talking about keeping him for 36 hours, and he said, no, you're not keeping me for 36 hours. And he was staying until the next day. So it's the province. They don't get this every day. So the next day the mother arrives and they go into a room and they thrash out between them what the division will be of the expenses. So yes, our friend did a traffic move which was questionable, but the boy was a minor, should never have been on a bike, which would invalidate the insurance. It was not, we don't know in fact whether, and nothing was ever cleared on this, little damage, but he'd flown off the bike, and that's when he got his multiple injuries, fractures. So he is a minor and should never have been on the bike, and to that degree the mother has to, our parents have to take some responsibility on this. They allowed their kid to go out and face possible death, plus the death of other people. So if he crashed into a tricycle, there would be a lot of pain and upset for everybody. Luckily that didn't happen. He just went into the side of the vehicle that our friend was driving. So they worked out an amicable agreement where my friend would pay 55% of the damages, that is medical treatment. My friend refused to pay any damage on the truck, on the bike. He said, no, that's not my responsibility. You should never have let the child go go on a motorcycle. Of course, they wanted 50-50 or even 60-40, and my friend said, I'm going out for a little breath of fresh air. now they were at the, by this time they were at the attorney's house, which they had been taken to. Went to the attorney's house, and the attorney, it's one attorney coming to an amicable agreement between two disputing parties. And the expat said, I'll go for 50-50. The Filipinos wanted 60-40. Right, he said, no, that's not going to happen. And the woman was being, the parent was being adamant and stubborn. So the expat said, I'm going out for a breath of fresh air. And he said to the attorney, I suggest to you that you get over to this lady, that she is at risk of losing everything, because I'm getting upset about this, and if I come back in and it's not back to 50-50, then all deals are off, and I'll fight it to the end. Well, when he came back after his breath of fresh air, it was then thrashed out at he would meet 55 and they would meet the rest. A statement was drawn up, a contract, they both signed it, and they went on their way. That's what happens in the Philippines. So it's not the same as wherever you are. I hazard a guess and say that it's quite different. Okay, so that's what you must be prepared for. And some expats that I've seen, and it makes sense, I don't have the resources to do this, but a lot of expats, looking on the fact that it may have been them that suffered multiple injuries, and if they were wheeled up in an ambulance to a good hospital in one of the bigger cities, they would want money up front. So in fact, some expats say you need to have at your immediate disposal 30,000 pesos or so, because otherwise you may spend a lot of time bleeding in the corridor. So that's just an anecdotal thing that you can take as being true, because that's what happened. So be warned and be aware. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. Hope this helps. Bye for now.